Hey ho people, it's Stylosa and Kirioth. Now, we've been playing Guild Wars 2 for, well, I mean, when did it come out? Just over a week now, I think it is. Is it? Yeah, it is. It was Friday the other week and it was a 3-day head start thingy, and now it's Monday. I think. It is Monday. Right, before we start as well, there's no webcams on because quite frankly we look terrible and whatever. But what we wanted to do is have like a bit of a chat about Guild Wars 2 and some of the things that we think which, like, we've sat back and looked at the game and I don't know, I've got a couple of issues. So I think we'll go into detail on them, and maybe you guys have got these issues, and you know it made for a good discussion, because that's what we like at Unit Lost. You know, let's have a discussion with the community. You guys are playing Guild Wars 2, we're playing Guild Wars 2, so let's talk about it.
What do you reckon is the biggest roadblock for you at the moment? Because I know what mine is, but I'm curious to know about what do you reckon is the biggest thing that you're now worried about?
What I'll say is, me and MMOs, I always like leveling up. So you can leave me and I'll just solo my way around. You know, I'll join groups and whatever. Although joining groups is not really a thing you do in Guild Wars 2 leveling up. You kind of just jump into quests that are happening, you know, public quest style, which isn't a bad thing, although isn't really a good thing in some senses. So I'm going along on my merry path and I'm leveling up. That's fine. You know, I think I'm like level 73 or something like that. So I'm not max level yet. There's still, you know, quite a fair amount of the world for me to see and all the rest of it. But when I get to 80, I am not too sure what I am actually going to do. Because let me just give you a little bit of history, or like explain what type of MMO player I am. I'm very much PvE. I like raids. I like difficult raids. When I played EverQuest 2, I was a raid leader, and the raids were extremely difficult in that game. You know, and from playing that, it's made me want to play raids. I want to be in a situation where I'm leading a raid, or I'm in a guild which is taking part in these difficult raids, you know, 25 plus people or whatever, working towards a goal that's difficult. Now, as far as I can tell, that is a non-existent concept in Guild Wars 2 at the moment. There is no PvE endgame like that at all. There are dungeons. Now, you've got you do the story mode and then the exploration, you know, and I think they're randomised to some extent and all the rest of it. But what I will say about the dungeons is I've got some reservations as to how, you know, why would you go back and keep doing the dungeons for the story, for the random element of it? When MMOs come down to it, it's about bettering your character, about, you know, taking yourself to the next level, getting loot. Loot is a big thing. You know, you want to do something to get loot. You don't just want to do it for the sake of it. You might do that the first time, and that's fine. But if you're going through a dungeon with no chance really of getting any decent loot, then why would you do it? And it kind of worries me, because I'm sitting back now after, you know, I've played the game for like 80 odd hours. That's a lot of time, and I've enjoyed it because I've been leveling up. Majority of that has been on my own, even though I have been taking part in some, well, quite a lot obviously, of the renowned quests, which are like the little hearts on the map, the group quest things, which is what the game is kind of famous for, and they have been good fun. But now I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, so I can PvP? Well, that's fine. But anybody can PvP because you're just bumped up to level 80 anyway, and you're given like a set amount of gear and you just get on with it. In the structured PvP, which is like the, you know, the teams against each other fighting for goals and whatnot. But the actual world v world, which is the other element of the game, anybody can join that as well, and you get bumped up to 80. Although your gear does make a difference there, because you are still, you know, using your character that you're using for PvE in the open world. It just kind of, I think I'm like in a situation where like I said, I'm a type of player that wants to go and do a raid, that wants to be a part of something which is not just a random quest. Because you see things like the massive dragons where you have to defend, you know, cannons to blow the dragons up and all this mad stuff. But it's just a quest anybody can take part in who's in the area at the time. And my issue with these type of quests is you can be an absolutely shit player and still get rewards and still take part in that raid and add something to it, even though you are terrible. Whereas in a raid, an EverQuest 2 raid, where I've got obviously all my experience, and I guess this extends to World of Warcraft raids and the like, you stand in that fire, you die, you're dead, you pay the price, and the raid could wipe. If you're the main tank, you're dead, the raid's going to wipe. You don't have that in Guild Wars 2, and that's making me feel a bit bleh.
So for me, it's not. It's the realization that actually one of the things I like doing is leveling up. I mean, I've leveled countless characters in World of Warcraft. I think it took me about 4 goes to settle on a character in the Star Wars MMO, the name of which is completely escaped you. What's it called, Buck? I forgot.
Oh, just the Old Republic.
The Old Republic, that's it. For some reason, I wanted to say Knights of the Old Republic, and I don't know why.
What's that's not even... Whatever. Star Wars, the Old bloody Republic. Shite.
Yeah, but it took me a while to decide what I wanted to play there, and the thing with me is I like having some sort of connection to the character. I don't know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a humanoid character or anything like that. It's just I like having something that I can put time into and consider it being mine. And part of the thing of leveling up for me is kind of, I don't want to say it's like the pride element of, yeah, I'd sat there and I spent the time with this character and got it to this level. And since I realised that I can in fact do everything in Guild Wars 2 that there is to do endgame at any level, the compulsion to level the character has just disappeared. Because one of the things I was thinking when I started was, oh well, I want to do World v World because that's good, I enjoy that. Except I can do all the World v World that everyone else does right now at like level 28. So what's the point in leveling for that? I can already do it. I can already go toe to toe with people who are higher level than me. I might be at a slight disadvantage, but the fact is I can still do it. If I wanted to do PvP, the structured PvP, well, I believe I can do that as well because we just did. But it's like, with the lack of endgame PvE content, the whole point of leveling up the character to me has just been lost a bit because everything that you want to do.
Yeah, definitely. That is my problem I'm sitting at the moment. I'm like, okay, I've leveled up to this extent. You should be. The feeling of, oh god, I'm max level, I can now do this, I can work my way through a set of dungeons, then, work into harder dungeons, work my way through raids, get geared up to do more difficult raids and all that. That's just not existent. Well, it's non-existent in this game, and that is like, oh my god, I can't get my head around this, because it means that, on one hand, you could say this is sort of like the future of MMOs, and it probably is, where it's really accessible for anybody. There shouldn't be barriers where I can't play with my friends because I've got more playtime than them, because that's bullshit. But on the other hand, that sense of achievement of your friends finally catching up to you, or other people you play with, catching up to your level, and then you going on some dungeon run or whatever together, that is like, it's sort of lost in this game. It feels like it's lost to me at the moment. I mean, I know this is coming across as a bit of a rant, but it's like, these are just, we were just having this chat, and I thought, why don't we just record this? And and I'm going to stop saying as well, because people, they must be in the same situation. They've got to be, because what do you do? What happens if you don't even like PvP?
Well, that's the other thing actually, because I'm really enjoying the World v World. I have to admit, I wasn't impressed with the structured PvP. Hopefully that'll improve, because at the moment it's just seems a bit lackluster. Like there's no group join option. I might enjoy it more if, like, me and Sty could actually, have a game on the same team. But the server browser half the time doesn't work, and when it does, you can't join as a group. So that, the team play element of that is kind of lost at the moment. But the World v World, it's like, I enjoy it, but I always like doing everything.
Yeah.
In WoW, we liked a bit of Alterac Valley every now and again. We liked a bit of PvP, but at the same time, we didn't sit there and do it obsessively. We did everything else as well.
Let's just outline what our experience with WoW was. We were quite casual with WoW. I mean, let's face it, we were not hardcore by any sense of the imagination. We had other things that we were doing, but we did play a lot of WoW. But it was never like massive, intensive raid and all the rest of that. I'd already done that with EverQuest 2. I know Kiri hasn't, but I've told him enough times about it for him to bloody understand it. And it's like, I like PvP, I like PvE, but endgame to me, the reason why I would play an MMO is so I am taking part in these raids, which require mass coordination, require people of other, levels of dedication. They put the effort in. We're here, we're going to do this. You could say, okay, well, Stylo, so the renown quests in a level 80 areas, only level 80s can do them. You can't take, a level 20 can't go into that area and magically level up. That's fine, yeah, you can't, but how they're rapidly going to lose their draw, because they're just going to happen so fast. You're just going to get bored of it. You know, I don't think this game doesn't have anything to make me want to keep playing the game now. I'll get to level 80, that's a given, because I'm so close to it anyway, I just will. We've founded a guild, and the guild's got some 60 odd members, which is good. Now obviously a lot of them come from the YouTube channel and all the rest of it. I deliberately stepped back from reading absolutely everything about Guild Wars 2, because I kind of wanted... It's difficult for somebody in my position to go into a game not knowing anything about it. Especially when, you know, you're involved in arguably games journalism, so you know a lot about games anyway. It's within your interest to keep on top of it. I kind of made Guild Wars 2... No, I don't want to read that. You know, I'm not... Whatever. The thing is, though, if I'd read everything about Guild Wars 2, and if I fully understood there was no PvE endgame in any capacity which I would have expected it, would I be playing Guild Wars 2? I don't know. Obviously, I would have played the game, yeah, because it's something I need to do as a job, if anything, you know, more than anything. But it frustrates me because I've really enjoyed playing the game, leveling up, the graphics, the combat system, the way everything looks. It looks great, but now when you get to this end game, which is notoriously difficult for games to keep you interested at that point, it's like, what have they actually done to keep me interested? You know, I mean, let's talk about World v World. What is World v World when you get down to it? It's just massive numbers of players zerging all over the place. There's no, like, tactics. Again, you could be a massive dribbler but still take part in it. The spectacle of it's great, but you're not really going to get... Just, if you were the best player in the world, against 3 other players, you're going to die anyway, because they've just zerged the shit out of you. You know, it ain't 3 versus 1, it's usually fucking 50 versus 30 or something mad, which does look massively impressive. And it is good fun. But for how long, I don't know, because the point of it is kind of a bit like, well, that's the other thing, Kiri. I mean, what is the point?
See, for me, the times I've enjoyed the World v World the most is when it's been coordinated, when there's been like a group of us going around doing stuff sort of outside the main group, like raids into other people's territory, all that kind of thing. But again, it's like there's not... The only replayability for World v World is just playing it again. There's no... Like, the gear progression is kind of... It's there, but it's not really necessary. You know, it's not like if you don't have the gear, you'll fail miserably, because at level 25, I took on 3 people and won. Now, you're not telling me that at level 25 I had the best gear in the game, because I quite clearly didn't, you know, and it's like that side of it clearly doesn't make that much of a difference. It might do eventually, but how far in the future is that going to be? And how long does it have to keep you interested, doing the same thing, having the same eternal war? You know, that's got to keep you going until a lot of people have hit level 80, a lot of people have played World v World extensively, and I don't know if it's going to happen, because much though I enjoy it, what I'd like to do is play a bit of World v World and then go and play a bit of PvE. But there is no PvE. The World v World I can play now, and even if there was PvE, the fact that I can do half of the game's content without bothering to level, which in turn makes me not really all that fussed about the character, means I'm not really...
And that's another problem. That is another problem. Yeah, if you're not invested in your character, then why do you care? They have the personal story questline is great, and that does make you invest in your character. Like, I know my character's like a war master of the Vigil and all the rest of it. You know, and he's fighting to kill I forget his name, filthy diseased dragon and all this. But it's like, yeah, that's great. But if I want to play the current end game, which is PvP, and I want to play that as a warrior, I'm a guardian, all I need to do is make a warrior and then click join World v World or join structured PvP. Bang, I'm level 80, I've got all the abilities, get on with it. Why bother leveling up my my character, level 73 I think I am at the moment, or 70 something. I'm like, I can't actually tell at the moment because I'm still in the PvP thing, but in fact I think I would look, I think I'm 72. Like, if you listen to that, I'm 80, but it doesn't matter, it's irrelevant really, my level. It's like, I could have spent maybe 10 hours, 5 to 10 hours in the PvP as a Guardian, and I would have understood all the classes' abilities and started kind of min-maxing to a point where I'm working out what abilities would be good for certain weapons and things like that. Instead, I've played some like 80 hours of the PvE just to unlock my abilities, where I could have just got there instantly and gone and played a Guardian and thought, oh, you know, great fun. I think the problem with it is it's. This is going to sound really bad. It's like a casual game.
I think that's it. But the thing is, again, it's like I haven't got a problem with a casual game.
No, neither. Yeah.
In a way, you'd think really that a casual game would kind of, in some ways, suit us more because the number of games we play, the amount of time we spend each day playing completely different games means it's difficult to have one game that you stick to and play more than others. Because there are so many other things.
Well, it's impossible for us. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point you're highlighting because we're ideal for this. You'd be saying, well, you're stupid, Stylosa, because I'm playing, I don't even know how many games I've played today, but I don't have the time to just play. Okay, when I streamed a lot of Counter-Strike Go the other week, I haven't played Counter-Strike Go since then because I'm too busy doing everything else. The days have long gone since I was just a single game man or a man who played maybe 2 games.
And so you think that the angle that Guild Wars 2 seems to have gone for would be perfect, but I don't know. It just feels like there is something not quite there, something a bit lacking, something that in other MMOs I would focus on the character, and even if it meant I wasn't able to play a lot, I would still do my level best to get that character up to the top level, and try a bit of everything, do whatever I could. In Guild Wars 2, I'm not getting that because I can do whatever I want now. So the main focus for me, which is this character that I want to develop, and even if I don't take it raiding or whatever, I mean my paladin on WoW was my favourite character really, and granted he never raided, but
he might not have raided. Yeah, but he might not have raided in the sense of joining massive raids, but he still did dungeon runs. He was still you were the healer. You still you knew you were there making a difference in that group. I think the greatest problem, or the thing this has made me think about is I want to go and play WoW, or I want to go and play. I can't play EverQuest because this is such a terrible state of a game, and that's not really right. Is it? The game should be making me want to play itself, but it's reminded me of what I've sort of missed not playing MMOs for so long because it's been a long time. I mean, my WoW account. As I said, we were really casual on that, but we used to play it together, didn't we? We just used to level up together and piss about.
Yeah.
I mean, that was active as Cataclysm started, and then active for maybe 2 months, and then it was not played again then. And
but I've got more of a. The more I play the Guardian, the more I think, well, okay, it would be cool if a Paladin was actually as fun to play as this. But at the same time, I'm always sat there thinking, you know what? If we're in an instance. I'd like to heal people, but it's not really there. It's kind of a cross between support and heal and damage, and I don't know.
That's another thing. Guild Wars 2 are doing something totally different. ArenaNet are doing something different than the standard Holy Trinity healer tank DPS. It's sort of DPS support, and kind of tanky-ish, but it's not in the sense of like one guy takes aggro, another guy heals him, and the other lot do damage. It's not like that. Everybody's basically concerned with their own survival almost completely. There are some abilities that slightly help them out, but it's not. It just feels like things are not. All of a sudden, it's not dependent on the tank to hold aggro. It's not dependent on the DPS to burn the correct targets or to, CC, crowd control certain targets, or the healer to keep people alive. It's suddenly become a case of, you know what, it doesn't really matter because I look after myself. And that kind of irritated me again. I mean, you go back to the Old Republic as an example, and that was not an MMO. I don't care what you say to me about that game. That game was a single-player RPG, which you just happened to have you chum along. And it was quite good the way it did the integration in the quest, but apart from that, there was just absolutely nothing to do in that game, which was quite bad, really. It was a farce calling it an MMO. But now it's free to play, so you may as well go and give it a shot, I suppose. In WoW and in EverQuest 2, EverQuest 2 is my best example. I was massively invested in my character. I want my character to have the best gear. He was a tank, right? He was a Guardian tank. He could take the most damage. He was the class that could take the most damage, but couldn't really hold aggro the best. Could really only hold aggro on single targets. So it was generally ideal for tanking, the big raid boss, which is what I wanted to do. You could say that was the glamour role. I don't care. That is what I wanted to do, and I did do that. I was there and I was the tank. other classes were better at holding AoE aggro, kind of somewhat like in WoW. I think prop warriors were like single target with the Sunder armors, and paladins were like AoE tanks and things like that for a period in that game. That's what I wanted to do. That was my goal, and that's what I did. And I knew if I didn't cycle my abilities right, if I didn't position the bosses right, if I didn't do this, didn't do that, everybody would die. But in Guild Wars 2, when we did some of the instances, it was like, it didn't really matter. It felt dead strange. It felt like a massive, well, for want of a better word, it felt like a massive clusterfuck, because everybody's running around, and it doesn't really, you don't really know who's got aggro of what. You're just trying to really cycle your crowd control abilities to try and, you know, keep knocking the monsters over or whatever you're attacking. And it, all of a sudden, the guy, oh my god!
When we were doing the instance, I just defaulted back into healer mode because that's what I've always done. That's what I enjoy doing, and it felt just pointless. It just did. It was like I was cycling my heals, I was cycling my buffs, I was cycling my virtues. Every opportunity I had, I was trying to disrupt the mobs and I was trying to heal people up, and you just couldn't. You know, it was just, it made a bit of a difference, but when like a mob is hitting you for 1,000 on a crit or with a special ability, and my massive AoE heal is healing for 350, it's like, what's the point?
It's almost like they were just like little supplements, weren't they, just to kind of keep people going, but it's not really going to make that much difference. And
which
my god,
which playing as a guardian with a staff, that frankly just makes you feel worthless, because it's like, why would I stand here at the back doing pissy AoE damage and giving people kind of pathetic heals, when if I just strapped a sword on, we could do this quicker. It's just, you know,
I think it really suffers. It's really suffering from this lack of Holy Trinity, that you do not feel like you are the man making a difference. All of a sudden, you're like lost in just masses of people, and it's like, well, this is not what's going on here now. I don't know what I'm doing. It doesn't really matter what I'm doing, because I'm in a renowned public quest of 50 other people. I could be scratching my arse for all they care, just spamming one ability. They'll never know. But oh, look at this gold reward. Oh, a big chest has popped up. Oh, I have that, thanks a lot. You know, there's videos on the channel. There's that Mega Destroyer. I was impressed with that, because it was like a level 50 to 60 zone as I'm leveling up. All of a sudden, there's this thing which is like a raid. That's great. But little did I really know that that is kind of the end game. And even when you're at level 80, that's what happens. And it's like, well, okay, that's great. And I played absolutely shit in that. I was downed God knows how many times, which is kind of another thing as well. You know, when you get downed in any other game, you're dead. You don't just come back because you can. It's like, whoa. So I guess we should wrap this up, because then let me just get another point across as well before we do. It is a rant. It is a rant. That's what it is, and it's these are our experiences and our kind of doubts with Guild Wars 2 now, after having played it for a week and looked at everything about the game, and really, like, it's been a long time since I've just become invested in the game, and I thought to myself, this is a game I'm playing, and it has been my go-to game. As soon as work is kind of finished, that was it. This is what I was playing, and you know, even playing it during the day, because, you know, like I said, it is my job. And suddenly I just see this massive like gap, this hole, this abyss, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what. Like I said, it's honestly made me think, why don't I just download WoW, or why don't I just go and do something else, something where I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, you guys tell me in the comments. Are you feeling the same way, or am I just talking crap? I don't know.
I think there's something else that we should probably stress as well. We're not hating on the game, right? The amount of time that we've piled into it is, I mean, as we've said before, I missed the early access, even though I had access to it, but my internet died. I still managed in 3 days to pile 35 hours into it, which, considering how many other games we play a day, is quite a lot, really. I mean,
also,
there's some sleep deprivation going. Yeah.
Well, look at the cost of the game. You just pay it. You pay for the box, and that's it. You get the game. I paid for Skyrim. Skyrim, I think, was $39.99. I played Skyrim for, I think I've got like 90 hours of Skyrim. I bought this pre-order. It was early. It was $29.99. I've played this more than I've played Skyrim. So in that sense, yeah, I've got my money's worth. But in an MMO sense, where I sort of want the big social aspect of well, not a social aspect, but the big group challenge aspect of the raids, of the, you know, the proper sort of like what you would expect in endgame, I'm just not getting it. And it's like I'm sitting here and I'm like, I really like this game. I like the way it looks. I like the way it plays. I like its combat system. I like the classes. The class I'm playing is arguably the best class I've ever played in any MMO. It's just crazy. Yet, I still find this big hole of like, I don't know, like this. Well, what am I going to do now?
Yeah, it just
will I be playing this game?
It just feels like there's something missing. That's the only way I can describe it. It's like I want to play the game, but the things I want to do in the game don't seem to be there. That's the best way I can think to describe it. It's like I want to heal, but I'm not really sure that there's any such thing as a healer. I want to raid, but I'm not really sure that there's going to be anything I would really describe as a raid. And when it comes to the PvP, yeah, it's fun, and I enjoy it, but there's a reason that we didn't play PvP, obsessively in WoW, and that's because it's not something that would hold my interest for long enough. Because it's still it might be a challenge, but it's still the same challenge. Whereas you get different dynamics, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It just feels like it's a really good game. I've really enjoyed it, but the compulsion to level my character and the connection that I usually feel between me and the character I'm playing is not there. The strength of connection hasn't been made, and usually by this point it has. So for me, it's just lacking in something, but I can't really describe exactly what it is.
I can kind of compare this wildly or loosely to Battlefield 3, because that's sort of the same thing. Now, Battlefield 3, for the way it looked and the way it played and everything, it still was lacking something, and that sort of stopped me playing that game. And I'm getting the same thing with Guild Wars 2. For as much as I really want to play the game, I'm seriously thinking to myself, what is the point? Why waste hours leveling up my trade skills, which I have been doing, or doing this and doing that, when there's no real benefit? You could go to the extremes and argue and say, well, yeah, but anything like WoW or anything like that, you don't. What's the point in leveling that? At the end of the day, an expansion comes out and everything's newer. Yeah, but the challenge of leveling up is what keeps people coming back. The promise of shiny new loot is what keeps people coming back. Guild Wars 2 is so accessible to everybody of every level, and there is a massive char in my face. It's like, there's no point. There's no point of the time investment, of the investment in learning your class and gearing yourself, when you just go into PvP, you're given a set of gear and you just crack on with it. Well, the structured PvP anyway.
And even to a certain extent, the World v World. When it's like, yeah, you'll have an advantage over the level 12 that's just stepped in for the first time, but that's all it is. It's just a small advantage. It's not like... It's not... I don't know. It's like the accessibility is something that is both good and bad. I can see the good side of it, but at the same time, I think in some ways it's sort of turning me off the game, which is... As we've said, it's kind of strange, because given what we do, you kind of think, well, surely if anyone needs an accessible MMO that you can play at any time, it's you. But it's just not the case.
I mean, we've got the benefit of experience. We know these things. Me more so than you, but I understand ArenaNet are trying to make changes to a format which has been the same for so long. But I just think, why didn't they release the game with 2 or 3 endgame raids, so people who like PvE can go through the raids and then move that on? I'm not talking dungeons, or I'm not talking, like small group dungeons, or bloody the odd renown quest, it looks spectacular, because don't get me wrong, they do. You look at the stuff I've put on the channel, it looks great, but really you could just AFK and still finish it. That's like, what? No. I want to be there. I want to be led by somebody. I want to be leading people. I want to be saying, right, we're going to do this is how we're going to do it. Learning a boss, doing this, doing that, the challenge of beating it, and I just don't think that's it in this game. Whether it'll appear, I don't know. Let us know, guys, what you think in the comments. This has been a bit of how'd you say? It's like an impromptu recording, because we were just discussing this and thought, you know what? Let's throw this out there, because I guess people are thinking the same thing. So let us know what you think, and yeah, good lord. Subscribe as well, because we're the best. Follow us on Twitter and all that. Links are in the description. So I guess, Mr. Kirioth, we're out of here.
We are indeed, son. Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.